What I'm about to reveal will terrify most viewers, but ignoring this reality could cost you your independence, or worse. Hidden medical data shows that your lungs are following a catastrophic 5-year countdown after 60, and most seniors don't realize they're already years into this deadly progression. Right now, as you watch this video, cellular destruction is accelerating inside your chest at rates that would shock you. While doctors discuss normal aging, they're not telling you about the documented respiratory crisis that strikes virtually every person who crosses their 60th birthday. The most disturbing part: this isn't gradual decline. It's a predictable timeline of lung destruction that medical researchers have mapped with terrifying precision. Each year brings new levels of damage that compound into a respiratory emergency most people never see coming. This information could determine whether you maintain your independence or become another statistic in the senior breathing crisis sweeping the nation. What happens in year 4 will horrify you, and by year 5, you'll understand why emergency rooms are seeing record numbers of seniors gasping for air.
The first 12 months, silent sabotage begins. During your inaugural year past 60, the changes happening in your lungs are so subtle you won't notice them. Your lung capacity begins declining at an accelerated rate, not the gradual 1% per year of your younger decades, but a more aggressive 2 to 3% annually. The tiny air sacs in your lungs, called alveoli, start losing their elasticity. Think of them like balloons that have been inflated and deflated thousands of times. They begin to stay partially inflated, reducing the space available for fresh air with each breath. Your diaphragm, the primary muscle responsible for breathing, begins to weaken. This isn't dramatic weakness, just a subtle reduction in power that forces other, less efficient muscles to compensate. You might notice you get slightly more winded climbing stairs, but you dismiss it as being out of shape. Entering the second phase. The compensation game. As you move into your second year beyond 60, your body has become an expert at hiding your declining lung function. Your heart starts working harder to circulate the reduced oxygen your lungs are providing, and you unconsciously begin breathing slightly faster to compensate. The cilia, tiny hairs that sweep debris and pollutants out of your airways, become sluggish and less effective. Inflammatory particles that your lungs once cleared efficiently now linger longer, creating low-grade irritation that you might experience as occasional throat clearing or a morning cough. Your chest wall begins to stiffen. The muscles between your ribs lose flexibility, making it slightly harder for your lungs to expand fully. You might find yourself sighing more often or feeling like you need to take occasional deep breaths, though you probably won't connect this to lung aging. The critical third stage, reaching the tipping point. Here's where things accelerate dangerously. Your lung capacity has now declined by 6 to 9% from your 60-year-old baseline. For the first time, you might notice breathlessness during activities that never bothered you before. The exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide in your lungs becomes noticeably less efficient. Your blood oxygen levels, while still technically normal, drop to the lower end of the healthy range. This subtle decrease affects your energy levels, though you'll likely attribute your increasing fatigue to getting older. Inflammatory processes that your lungs once controlled begin to overwhelm your respiratory system's defenses. Environmental irritants that never bothered you, dust, pollen, strong scents, now trigger coughing or breathing discomfort.
Stop. This destruction doesn't have to continue. While researching this terrifying timeline, I discovered a breakthrough that's helping thousands of seniors halt this lung deterioration in its tracks. A simple 45-second morning technique that's causing medical professionals to question everything they thought they knew about respiratory aging. This technique works by targeting the exact cellular processes driving this 5-year countdown, essentially hitting the pause button on lung destruction while activating your respiratory system's dormant healing mechanisms. Seniors using this approach report breathing improvements they thought were impossible after 60. The entire technique takes just 45 seconds each morning, but addresses the root causes of accelerated lung aging. Many seniors call it the difference between surrendering to this timeline and reclaiming the lung capacity they thought was gone forever. I've included the complete 45-second technique in the description below.
The fourth phase avalanche. When everything changes. This stage transforms everything, though most people still don't recognize what's happening. Your lung capacity has declined by 10 to 15%, crossing the threshold where your respiratory system can no longer hide its limitations. Your sleep becomes restless because your lungs struggle to maintain adequate oxygen levels in the horizontal position. You might find yourself using extra pillows or waking up feeling like you haven't breathed properly all night. Simple conversations begin requiring effort. Talking for extended periods leaves you slightly breathless, though you'll probably blame it on speaking too fast or needing more water. The most alarming change: your exercise tolerance plummets. Activities you enjoyed just 2 years ago now leave you winded and exhausted. Many people stop exercising entirely, thinking they're just too old for physical activity, never realizing their lungs can no longer support their previous activity levels. The final countdown: reaching the point of no return. By your 5th year after 60, your lung capacity has declined by 15 to 20% or more. This isn't subtle anymore. It's life-changing. You're now operating with the lung function of someone significantly older, and your body can no longer compensate effectively. Climbing a single flight of stairs leaves you breathless. Walking more than a few blocks requires rest stops. You avoid activities that involve any physical exertion, and your world begins shrinking as your lungs limit what you can do. Sleep becomes increasingly disrupted as your lungs struggle to maintain oxygen levels throughout the night. You might develop a chronic cough as your respiratory system desperately tries to clear the inflammatory debris it can no longer process efficiently. Most tragically, this is when many people receive their first serious respiratory diagnosis. Conditions that have been developing for years finally become severe enough for medical detection, but by then, much of the damage is irreversible.
The clock is ticking on your respiratory future. Every day you delay action is another day closer to irreversible lung damage that could rob you of your independence, your mobility, and ultimately, your quality of life. The devastating reality is that millions of seniors are sleepwalking through this exact timeline right now, believing their declining breathing capacity is simply inevitable aging. They've surrendered to breathlessness, fatigue, and limited mobility without realizing they had the power to interrupt this progression. But here's the terrifying truth medical professionals don't emphasize. Once you reach the final phases of this timeline, your options become severely limited. The window for meaningful intervention slams shut, and you're left managing decline instead of preventing it. The 45-second morning technique I mentioned isn't just a suggestion. It could be your lifeline. Thousands of seniors credit this breakthrough with stopping their lung deterioration and maintaining breathing capacity they thought was already lost forever. Your respiratory timeline doesn't pause for anyone. While you're deciding whether to take action, cellular destruction continues inside your chest, pushing you closer to the point where help becomes impossible. Don't become another casualty of this hidden epidemic. The complete 45-second technique is in the description below. It could be the difference between maintaining your independence and becoming dependent on others for your most basic need. Which stage of this countdown are you experiencing right now? How much time do you think you have left before it's too late? Let me know in the comments below. Your lungs are sending you warnings through this timeline. The question is, will you listen before it's too late? See you in the next video.